Hi, my name is Chris, the Westside Strangler Brennan. I'm out of Dallas, Texas. I fought in the UFC, Pride, Shudo, King of the Cage. I have 5 world titles, competed in Abu Dhabi Submission Wrestling World Championships. And today we're going to go over the 10-finger guillotine and many different variations of the 10-finger guillotine. My partner is going to be my brother, Brennan, and he's going to be helping me out. He's the instructor at Tri-Center MMA. So let's get started. Okay, right now we're going to go over just a basic choke of the 10-finger guillotine so you can see hand placement and how to set this up. One of the best parts about the 10-finger guillotine is if the guy pins his chin, when I'm trying to get a regular guillotine, I can't get under his neck or in between his neck and chin. I slide my hand back out using the blade of my thumb to slide right back in between his chest and his chin. Then my other hand's going to slide over the top so that my thumbs are overlapping each other just like this. So from here, I overlap here. I don't want to have my arm wrapped all the way over his head. I want to hold it just like a football, kind of lay my forearm across his ear, hug it tight to my chest. I'm going to lift up into my armpit and then roll my hands. I'm going to pull up and I'm going to roll my hands back just like that so it rolls behind his jawline, crushing his windpipe. So again, I slide this in. My second hand comes in so my thumbs are overlapping each other. Pin his head tight to my body. Lift up first, and then roll, just like that, causing him to choke. Okay, one more time. I want to push his head off to the side, shoot my hand right between his chest and his neck, okay, on his chin. I want his chin to sit right between my pinky and my ring finger so that the rest of my fingers are on the back of his throat here, right on his neck. Second hand slides in, overlapping my thumbs, hug with my elbow, pinch his head tight to my body. I'm going to lift up so it's high in my armpit, and then roll my hands. Again, I shoot my hand in, slide my other hand in, stay nice and tight, hug his head tight to my body. Okay, I'm going to lift up, keeping his head tight into my armpit, slowly roll my hands back, causing him to tap. Okay, by rolling my hands back behind the jaw, it crushes his windpipe, and by holding his head first up in my armpit, that way he can't raise his head to come out. I have it trapped here. I'm kind of resting my body on it. Then arch my back just a little bit and roll my hand. Okay, now we're going to go over the 10-finger guillotine from the sprawl. When a guy shoots on you, he's trying to shot on your legs. As he reaches for my legs, I'm going to get my hips back and try and sprawl on his head. I'm going to keep my chest nice and heavy on his head. My hand's going to shoot in just like it was on the regular guillotine or 10-finger guillotine. My hand's going to shoot in. Keep my elbows tight so his head's got nowhere to go. All my weight's going to be on my chest, pinning his head to the floor. Okay? My hand's going to slide in, just like on the regular 10-finger guillotine. Keep my elbows tight. I want to lift up, pulling him into my chest, and then roll my hands back. Okay? Even if he drives forward, both of his arms would be forward as he's driving, trying to take me down. Okay? I'm not going anywhere. I can keep my hips back, and I can slide. I'm not going anywhere. And if he backs out, same thing. All it does is make the choke tighter on him. Okay, one more time. He shoots, I sprawl, keep my hips back, all my weight's on my chest, pinning his head to the floor. Okay, my hands slide in, both hands come in, overlap my thumbs, keep my elbows in nice and tight. From here, I'm going to lift up into my chest and roll my hands back. Okay, if he tries to drive forward and shoot, it's okay if I slide, but I want to keep my hips on the floor so that my choke doesn't change at all. Then if he tries to back out, I just roll my hands and it makes the choke even tighter. Okay, now I'm going to cover the 10-finger guillotine from the Peruvian necktie position. I'm sprawled out on the guy here and I start to set it up. Okay, a lot of times he still keeps trying to drive and my hips aren't down far enough. I'm going to step one leg over, okay, step it up towards his armpit and his knee. The other leg is going to step up over his head and I'm going to sit just like this. Keep this leg pinning his head together. I'm going to pull up and roll back just like I was before. The more I straighten my leg, like I'm kickstarting a motorcycle, it pushes his head down and causes the choke to get tighter. So again, I have the guillotine set up, okay, my hands are in position. I step one leg up. This time I turn my hip, get my leg over his head, okay? Start to straighten this leg out and pull on the throat, rolling my shoulder back, or rolling my hand back. One more time. Set up the guillotine. Okay, I'm gonna step this leg up. Now, as I step the other leg up, I wanna get my thigh over his head and sit down. Okay, from here, keep my grip the same, overlap my thumbs, keep my thigh over his head. Now I'm gonna straighten my leg to push his head down and pull up, causing him to choke. Okay, now I'm gonna go over the 10-finger guillotine when I pull guard. My opponent has shot on me, and this time, as I set up the guillotine, I'm gonna overhook his arm. Okay, I'm not gonna go just on the neck. I'm gonna overhook his arm, so I have one overhook and one in front. Now, the one that he's trapped over here, I'm gonna step my leg up, just like that, sit over my foot, so that my foot pops up and goes on his hip, just like this. This leg's gonna clamp over the top of his back. Notice I'm on my side, I'm not on my back, so that his head's pinned to the floor. Okay, a lot of times you want to defend a guillotine, you stand up and drive your head forward, but it doesn't really matter here. His head's already on the floor, so he's not going anywhere. Keep this pin nice and tight, pull up and roll my hand back. Okay, for leverage here, I can use my foot to push away to make it even tighter, and this leg to clamp him down as I roll my hands. Again, he shoots, I overhook this arm, I set up the guillotine first before I sit. Now, the leg that he has his arm on, I'm just gonna step up so that traps his arm, fall back with my foot on the hip, clamp this leg over the top of his back, okay? Again, I'm on my side, my triceps flat on the ground, okay? So I know I have his head pinned to the floor. From here, squeeze his head nice and tight to my body, lift up my wrists, and roll my hands. Basic 10-finger guillotine from the guard. First thing I want to do is set up the choke. I'm going to sit up across his body and wrap his head. Okay. From here, I'm going to post my hand on the ground. I need to scoop my butt and my hips away and out just like that so that I'm sitting up. If I stay in this position and the guy leans towards me, he's going to put me right back on my back. Okay. So when I sit up, I just scoop my butt back so I'm leaning on him now. So if he starts to drive into me, I can defend a little bit by keeping my shoulder down. Okay, from here, I scoot my hip out so that my knee comes up, trapping his arm inside. Okay, I overhook the arm, setting up the choke. I start to fall back. I don't worry about him passing to this side. I'm not concerned with if he passes that side, he's going to choke himself even more. So I'm not concerned with that. This leg needs to get up because if I'm choking him, his defense is to hop around to this side. Okay, so as I get this, I want to make sure this leg comes up and my foot comes to the hip. Okay, pinch my knees tight together. Pull up on the arm and roll my hands for the choke. Once again, uncross, sit up, go right to the chin, okay? From here, I scoot my butt back and get my hips out and bring my knee up nice and high over here. From here, overhook his arm, okay? I'm gonna start to fall back, but not to my back, go right to the side, onto my shoulder. My foot's on the hip, this leg clamps over the top. I wanna squeeze my knees together, okay? Makes it more difficult for him to try and escape. Squeeze his head to my body, lift up on my hands, and slowly roll my hands on the abs out before the choke. Okay, now I'm going to go over the defense to the 10-finger guillotine from guard. When Zach sits up and wraps my head, okay, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a guy start to pin his chin like this. All he wants me to do is to pin my chin because then he gets his weight down on my head and it makes it way easier for him to choke me. So the first thing I do is keep my head high, okay? It may give him a better reach or more space to get under my neck, but as long as I keep my head high, I'm okay. Now, using this arm, I want to block his leg as he starts to sit back to put me in guard. Okay, as he falls back, I want to block that so I can get my head to the side, okay? Keep my shoulder weight on, fight the hands a little bit. Now I still have this arm inside, so I need to bring my far leg, the free leg, up to here, put it on his elbow, drive it to the ground as I pull my arm out. Okay, now I can come underneath his head and put pressure to get my head out. Zach sits up, wraps my head. Okay, right away, head stays high. Okay, as he starts to sit back to choke me, get around that leg. Okay, make sure he doesn't get full guard. Start fighting with my hands. Start to put pressure around, walk this arm or this leg around, get it on top of his elbow. Okay, from here, pull my arm out, reach underneath his head, drive my shoulder forward so there's pressure on his neck, keep my head high, pin the wrist to the floor. Okay, this is the 10-finger guillotine when my opponent tries to pass my guard with double underhooks. As he reaches double underhooks like this and starts to scoop me up, okay, right when he starts to scoop me up, I want to put pressure down and shimmy my shoulders back so I can get my feet underneath and put hooks in. Okay, once I do that, he can't lift. Go ahead. He can't lift like that, so I start to sit up just like this and push his head to one side. From here, once I get under here, pinch my knees tight together, okay? Set up the 10-finger guillotine on his neck, real tight, hug his head to my body. I'm gonna lift up and roll my hands back for the choke. Make sure your knees stay tight the whole time so that he can't pull his arms back out. He reaches underneath, double underhooks, shimmy my shoulders back, get my feet inside. From here, I push his head to one side as I sit up, setting up the choke here. I wanna hug his head nice and tight, like I'm carrying a football. Okay, hold it up nice and tight in my armpit and then roll my hands back. Okay, now I'm going to show how to set up a triangle from the 10-finger guillotine. On this one, I sit up like I'm setting up the guillotine. I overhook the arm. Now, instead of falling back so that all his weight's on me, I'm going to start choking him right now and trying to get him to start defending, okay? The reason I overhook this arm is because it only gives him one option on what arm he's going to try and defend the guillotine with, and he just did. He brought his arm up to grab the wrist. From here, I'm going to kick my free leg up and over his shoulder just like this. Okay, you can see my hands are still on the neck. I can arch and finish the guillotine, or if his head happens to pop out, right when it comes out, I control the head, grab onto my shin bone right here, okay? My foot comes to the hip, I adjust. Don't just pull this across the back, lift up and clamp down on his neck, okay? From here, triangle my legs, I can leave this arm where it's at over here and just squeeze my knees nice and tight. Again, I sit up, set up the guillotine, overhook this arm, okay? Now from here, before I start to fall back, I'm going to start trying to choke him right now so he has to defend, okay? As soon as he does that, kick my leg over just like this. I can still finish the guillotine here, or if his head comes out, okay, hold his head down, grab onto my shin. As I grab onto the shin, my foot goes on the hip. I lift this up and clamp down on his head, okay? From here, triangle my legs, keep this hand inside, don't let go because this keeps pressure on his head. It takes away about 2 more inches of space between his neck and my leg, and squeeze. Okay, now we're going to go over the 5-finger guillotine from open guard. My hands or my feet are on his hips, trying to control him. If he starts sitting up or moving away, I want to start to scoot away like this, okay? I'm going to break his hands off me, sit straight up, and the first thing I want to do when I sit up is shoot my hand underneath his throat, and the other hand's going to come over and trap the back of his head, okay? From here, my feet are going to push away on his hips, okay? And then I pull with my hand just like on the regular 10-finger guillotine, but with one hand, and this hand's going to hold his head down. So if he tries to move around to get away, my feet stay on his hips, and he can circle, he can go wherever he wants. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to finish the choke by pulling one hand, folding my forearm down on top of his head to finish the choke. One more time. My feet are on his hips, controlling his wrist. I want to scoot my hip away, sit up. Right away, my hand goes up underneath the chin. The other hand cups over the top of his head, okay? My feet on his hips, going to push away to keep pressure on him, pull up on the throat, and roll my forearm down on his neck, okay, causing him to tap out from the choke. This hand shoots straight in. This one comes over the top, kind of clubbing him. Hold it down, and then fold my hand up underneath his neck. Okay, now we're gonna go over the 5-finger guillotine from the mount. From here, both of my hands are out for base. Okay, I'm gonna switch my arm over to one side, kind of tuck it into his neck and shoulder. From here, to set this up, I need to scoop his head up just like that. Now, as I bring my arm around, I'm gonna slide my hand flat underneath his neck so that I can lay my body back down on the palm of my hand. Okay, hips out. Okay, I'm gonna put my hooks in just like this. All I wanna do is post my hand and roll my shoulder back. Okay, I'm not trying to pull him up. I keep my hips down and just roll my shoulder like that. When I actually, sit up real quick, please. For this choke, my hand's gonna come underneath and all I want to go past his neck is my thumb. Okay, so my wrist is gonna lay just like this on his neck, and then I lay my body weight back down on top of my hand. So again, from this position, I scoop him up, slide this in. I'm gonna lift my body up so that I can lay my weight back down on top of my hand. Okay, hooks go in, post my hand, and I'm gonna try and roll my shoulder toward the ceiling, choking him, causing him to tap out. One more time. Scoop his head up, slide this around, lift my body, keep my hand flat so I can lay back down on the palm of my hand. Hooks go in, hips down, post my hand, and then roll my shoulder to the ceiling. Okay, now I'm gonna set up a 10-finger guillotine when my opponent tries escaping my side control as he pummels to get his hand inside. Okay, I'm gonna let him start turning into me a little bit so I can free this arm and come right around his head. Okay, I've already got it set up, so all I'm gonna do is let him come up on top of me. I keep this overhook, my leg goes over the top, my foot's already on his hip. Okay, I pinch my knees together nice and tight, roll up, and choke. Again, he pummels inside. I'm gonna let him start to come up on top so that I can let his head get inside. Okay, I set up the 5-finger on this side. As he keeps coming, I pummel this hand in, set up the 10-finger. My leg goes over the top, my foot's on his hip. I pinch my knees tight together, lift up, and roll. Okay, now we're gonna go over 10-finger from side control, stepping back into his half guard. From here, he pummels and gets his hand inside. As he starts to turn into me, I'm gonna set up the 5-finger, okay? Then I shoot my hand over, get the 10-finger. I wanna lay my weight back down, but from here, I'm gonna step into half guard so I can triangle my legs here and use my hips for leverage by curling up on his legs and roll my shoulder back. One more time. Pummels his hand inside, starts to turn into me, okay? Right away, wrap the chin. This hand shoots in, start to set up the choke, okay? From here, I drop my weight back down and I circle towards his half guard, okay? Hook his legs so I can triangle my legs and drop my hips down. As I drop my hips, roll my shoulder up, tapping him with the choke. Okay, now we're gonna go with a 5-finger guillotine from half guard. From here, I'm controlling my opponent and he starts to pummel and get his hand inside. As he starts to turn into me, right away, I'm gonna shoot this arm underneath to set up the 5-finger right here on his neck. I wanna keep my palm flat so that once it goes past his chin, I can lay my weight back down on it, okay? I'm gonna post my hand out here for base, triangle my legs, lower my hips, and roll my shoulder back. Again, pummels his hand inside, starts to turn into me, right away, shoot this hand inside, okay? Lay flat on it, triangle my legs, post my hand, and now carefully I'm gonna roll my shoulder back, just like that, get into the choke. Okay, now I'm going to show defense to the 10-finger guillotine when he's in side control. As I pummel and get my hand inside, he starts to set up the guillotine like this. Okay, right away I want to shoot my knee in and get him back in guard, get my hook in just like this. Okay, once I get a hook in, this hand is going to trap his leg, and I'm going to sweep, reaching with this hand, taking him all the way over. I need to hop past his guard. Okay, once I get here, I put my knee on his elbow, take my arm out, get an underhook on his head and keep my head high. Come to side control. Again, I pummel in. He sets up the choke. Okay, once he sets up the choke, I need to scoot my hips and bring my knee to make space and tuck this hook in. From here, reach with this free hand, trap his leg, put him on his back, and then hop across his legs. Once I get here, I want to take my knee, put it on his elbow, reach underneath his neck, sprawl my weight back, keep my head high so I can take off my arm and get control from the side. Okay, now I'm going to show the defense to the 5-finger guillotine from half guard. When I start to get my hand inside here and he sets up the 5-finger, okay, the first thing I want to do is make sure I keep this hand high, okay, and keep my head high. I'm going to post my foot, scoot my hip out a little bit so I can get a hook in. Now from here, I lift up, keep my head high, get my leg out, and start to come here. Now from here, if I keep a grip on his back like this and I don't let his arm out, if I keep his arm trapped here, I can bridge and come up on top. Okay, now I reach underneath the head and come out the same way I did on the last one. So I pull my hand inside, Zach starts to set up the 5-finger guillotine on me. I post my foot, scoot my hip out so I can get my hook in right here. Okay, now keeping my head high the whole time, I'm going to lift up, push this leg out so I can escape out to the back. If I keep my head high enough and his arm's wrapped, like this, if I keep his arm trapped, I can roll over and come up on top. If I move my arm and keep my head high, I can scoop my hip out and come up on his back. It's kind of my choice or preference on what I do right here. So as I scoop my hip out, pummel inside, he sets it up. Okay, I put my hook in. Now from here, I keep my shoulder trapped against his arm, lift him up, scoop my hip out. If my arm stays tight here, I roll him over. I stay on top the whole time. If from the same spot, I open my arm up a little bit so that his hand comes free, I arch and start to take his back and get my hooks in. Once again, I pummel my hand inside. He sets up a 5-finger guillotine. Okay, I scoop my hip, put the hook in. Okay, from here, keep my hand high, tuck in my elbow, lift him up, and scoop my hip out. So if I keep this arm tight, he can't take his arm out. I'm able to roll him over and get on top. If from here, I open my hand, keep my head high, I can swim through here and come out on his back and get my hooks in. I got into jiu-jitsu way back after UFC 1. I was bouncing at a club during UFC 1 with a couple of former UFC fighters as well. And I started training literally a weekend after the first UFC was on television. I started training with Ken Gabrielson. And then after that, I went to the Gracie Academy. I was at the Gracie Academy for off and on for about 6 years. I went to Brazil and lived in Brazil for a year. Slept on the mat. I had a pillow and a sheet
and that's what I did for a year. I had a locker, and that was it. And it was fun. I flew down there by myself, had 4 bags, didn't know anybody there, and I had called ahead of time and told them I was coming. And I walked in, and they asked me where my friends were, and I told them I came by myself, and they looked at me like I was nuts. And I started training that day. Fabio Gurgel put me to sleep first match without even giving me a chance to tap, and then he told me, "Welcome to Brazil." The guys are crazy. They party till 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're on the mat at 8 o'clock in the morning to train, and then they're at the beach all day after that. It's I don't think anybody works there, but they all train and they all party. But it was fun. I competed. Right when I got there, in 1995 was the first World Championships. I competed in those, and I won a match, and then I lost a match to Leo Leitch on 2 points. He was a good black belt judo guy, threw me, and then couldn't pass my guard after that, but I couldn't do anything. But the level of jiu-jitsu was awesome. I got to train with so many good guys. Every day in class was just packed with black belts, down to brown belts, purples and blues. So it was fun. My level went up, a lot. I was there for a long time. I was pretty good buddies with Hoist. Used to hang out with him a lot. Horian was very business-oriented, a better teacher than fighter. Hoist was a better fighter than teacher. They held back a lot as far as the instruction went on techniques that they would show, limited the level of techniques they would show. But as I started realizing that, I just kind of paid attention to the way that they taught and the way Horian taught, and then I implemented that into my instruction later on. I liked the way he taught, but as I started learning higher level techniques and stuff like that, I just kind of used the same philosophy as far as teaching went. Probably a month into my beginning of training, I instantly knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach jiu-jitsu. I wanted to fight MMA. That's what I wanted to do, and I kind of hit it from the very beginning, twice a day for the rest of my life. My NoGi training actually came upon in Brazil. I had got an offer to fight on a fight card in Brazil, so everyone took the gi off. There was 4 of us fighting, and we all got to take the gi off and train for a month before. So my training instantly, all the guys who had been killing me every single day, we took the gi off, and it really leveled the playing field a lot, and I started doing way better with a lot of really good guys. And I enjoyed I was athletic already from other sports that I had played, and I enjoyed the speed of the game. You definitely had to be more athletic, and I fought, and I won my fight, and then I came back to the United States, and at the Gracie Academy, we had a couple of, not classes, but a couple of days where we got to take off the gi and train, and again, with all the better guys, I was either tapping them or doing, way better than I had done before. So instantly I knew that I liked it, and I took to it really well. So I put the gi on maybe, a handful more times after that, and that was it. Besides the athleticism in NoGi training, I enjoy the speed of the game. It's a lot faster than gi training. There's so many techniques that you kind of have to create and come up with new handles and new ways to stay tight and new ways to stop someone from escaping and sliding out of things, because once the gi comes off, there are so many things that disappear, and you're looking for them for a while until you realize they're not there. So you got to start coming up with your own game plan, your own handles to control a guy, and I really like that a lot. In my mind, I came up with tons and tons of techniques on my own just over the years of training without a gi on. I was one of the first, I think, jiu-jitsu guys that actually took it off full time and trained all NoGi and started teaching fully NoGi, and started a clothing company called NoGi, and it just it fit me. I got into MMA basically the same time I started training jiu-jitsu. After seeing the first UFC, I instantly started training and wanted to fight in MMA. Problem getting into the UFC at that time, there was no weight classes, so I was having a hard time getting in. I was still trying, even though there was no weight classes, but my buddy Todd fought in UFC 5. I was with Chemo, and he fought in UFC 3. There was a kind of a waiting list for smaller guys. So I'd fought in a couple small shows, and then I fought in Brazil. And then right when I got back from Brazil, was UFC 16 was coming up, and John Peretti had known that I was, trying to get on the card, and I had just fought Pat Miletich a couple times, and he was my 4th and 5th fight, and then when it was his 24th and 25th fight, and then we got to the UFC, I got invited to fight in the UFC, and he, I ended up making it to the finals and fighting Pat in the finals again anyway. So, over the years, I got to fight in Pride. I got to fight in the UFC 3 times. I got to fight in Shudo, King of the Cage a lot. I fought in all the biggest events, and I was the first, to do a lot of things. I was the first lightweight fight ever in the UFC. I was the first lightweight fight ever in Pride Bushido. I got to experience a lot of cool things, and I won, both those fights. So as far as events go and accomplishments, I feel like I did everything that I set out to do. I won, a few world titles in King of the Cage. I never turned down a fight. My record is up and down because I fought, the very best in the sport when I was fighting. And I gave the very best, awesome fights. I beat guys, lost to guys, and very satisfied and happy with everything that I've done in MMA. In 2003, I started a clothing company, me and a buddy of mine and a couple of my brothers, and called NoGi. And I had been sponsored by companies before that, everything was the tough guy T-shirts and the pit bulls and skulls and crossbones and stuff. And we definitely wanted something that was more sporty and athletic, more appealing to, to more people. And that's what we did with NoGi. Our logo and the actual clothing, was way more low key than most of the companies out there, but it was very sharp and clean. And, I started wearing it in my fights and had a couple other guys wearing it in my fights. And, the logo and the image, started to get around real fast. And there was a definite split group of people who wear our stuff and who wear the tough guy stuff. And we have a lot of new things coming out this year as far as backpacks and more shorts and T-shirts and gloves and stuff like that. And it's really grown a lot over the last few years, and I'm pretty excited about that. In 2006, I relocated to Dallas, Texas, and bought a house out there, opened a small school. Now I have schools actually in Ireland, England, Canada, Arizona. My brother has an affiliate school here in California, and then my school in Texas. I train a lot of motocross riders as well in strength conditioning, and kind of have a live-in camp going at my house. I have 6 to 7 kids at a time living at my house from out of state and sometimes out of the country, training full time for motocross racing, just in strength conditioning training, and it's really grown a lot. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's way easier on my body. I still teach and train as often as I can. I want to fight a few more times, and as long as my body holds up, I figure I can get a couple more years out of it. I got my nickname, the Westside Strangler, back, I think in probably 1999 or 2000, when I was constantly choking people. I was choking people with guillotines all the time, or at least setting up guillotines all the time and finishing a large percentage of them. And one of my students nicknamed me the Westside Strangler, I believe because he was being sarcastic with Mikey Burnett, who was actually the East Side Assassin. And me and Mikey Burnett almost got into a fight after the Tito Ortiz-Ken Shamrock debacle in the cage at UFC 20. And he called me the Westside Strangler, and it kind of stuck from there. I thought it was appropriate because I lived on the West Side. I was born in Compton, and I like to choke people. Also got the King of the Kimura nickname. I was a little bit pumped up after one of my fights, and I was getting interviewed after I had pulled off a pretty sick Kimura in one of my fights, and I had made my Kimura DVDs, and when I was being interviewed, I asked the guy, I said, I don't know if that guy had seen my DVDs, but I'm the king of the Kimura. And when that happened, people from that day on have always said, oh, it's the king of the Kimura. And, I really enjoy Kimuras. They present themselves to me when I'm rolling. I don't even look for them. They're just there all the time because of the game that I play. They just happen to come about a lot. And I like the figure 4 grip, without the gi on, the NoGi training, just to control my opponent. So that's where that one came from. I like the 10-finger guillotine and the 5-finger guillotine, actually any guillotine, just because someone's always trying to shoot on you. They're always putting their head there. They're always putting their neck in a position to be choked. And the 10-finger guillotine is something that I had heard about, but never been shown. And I kind of applied my own hand grip and everything to that and controlling the head. And, I was trying to get away from the Kimura for a while because all I was doing when I was rolling guys is trying Kimura, and they were there all the time. But it's just like if I'm trying to promote a student and he can only tap somebody with one thing, I'm not going to promote him until he opens up his arsenal a little bit. So I varied from the Kimura and started choking people a lot, and then I found that the 10-finger guillotine actually comes up as often, or if not more, than the Kimura. So I got hooked on that, and here I am.